Hello there. Nice to see you. I know I can't, but it's the kind of thing you say, even though you can't. Because if I was in your front room, it would be nice to see you. Probably a bit inappropriate, but the fact is, just accept it. It's nice to see you. Um, as you can tell, well, maybe you can't tell, but I try and kind of keep it, the thoughts of the day, reasonably contemporary, more a kind of reaction to events, be they political or kind of headlines, but try and kind of engage with what people might be thinking in terms of the pandemic. And then every now and then, and today's going to be one of them, every now and then a story comes along and it's like, it's just nuts. But it's clearly in the news to give people a bit of light relief from one more, there are more cases and the stats are going the wrong way type reports on TV. So rather than just read this, I'm going to make it a quiz because that's the way you make it engaging. I'm going to read out a list of 10 names, and you have to tell me. You might have actually read the report. It was just 5 days ago, 4 days ago. You have to tell me this is a list of what? Number one, Stephen Fry. Two, Sir David Attenborough. Three, Sir Winston Churchill. Elvis Presley, Jesus Christ, Peter Kay, Billy Connolly, David Bowie, Jeremy Clarkson, Michael Palin. What is that list? It is the survey results, and it's quite a big survey. It's 16,400 people, and they asked what if you could pick anyone. Well, the fact that it was done by the AA is probably an indication. They do these kind of surveys to kind of promote their organisation and promote their car insurance and stuff like that. They asked near enough 16,500 folks, what is the person? Who is the person that you would most want to have in the passenger seat if you were going on a long car journey? So, one headline ran, Stephen Fry beats Jesus Christ into fifth place. And so it made me think, well, first of all, who would you like to have in your particular passenger seat? Assuming it's, I don't know, driving to Manchester or somewhere, a reasonably long distance, and you would have a reasonably big chunk of time to fill. And so obviously what people have done is gone for people that they can engage in conversation, and it would be interesting. I mean, exactly why Jeremy Clarkson's there, I have no idea. I wouldn't wish to be shouted at for that length of time. There's a few idols, singing idols, Elvis Presley, David Bowie, but the majority seem to be a kind of mixture of interesting people who have travelled, interesting people who have been stand-up comedians, Michael Palin, Peter Kay, Billy Connolly. But Stephen Fry is obviously, I think he was voted, the smartest guy in Britain. He's obviously having an interesting conversation. But who would you actually have? I think it's because of the age I am, so I freely admit that. I think I would probably want to spend some time with my dad. It's funny, my mother's now been a widow longer than she's been married. And it's strange because I'm thinking about my dad more, not less. So it's been, well over 30 years since he died. But it would be good just, that way he's missed a lot. I've got one wife and four children, and I think I would want to kind of catch up. Um, but if it had to be a really, it had to be like a sort of celebrity. Obviously, the majority of them are celebrities, and not the majority, all of them. Um, who would it be? The thing, I probably am not supposed to admit this, as in you're a Church of Scotland minister. But one of the rules you always recognise, two of the rules that people always had when a minister comes to visit, you had to clear away all the whiskey bottles before the minister came, and you had to clear away all the Billy Connolly DVDs. You could let ministers see anything else, but those two things had to disappear. Um, Little knowing that, well, I wouldn't have taken the whiskey, but I would have sat and watched a Billy. The thing I like about Billy Connolly is essentially a psychologist with punchlines, and so I can understand why they would pick him. But the thing that strikes me above all else is that there actually is a passage in the Bible that's like this, because the Cleopas and his pal might have been his wife, might have just been a friend. They're going they're traveling, they're walking a Sabbath day's walk. They're going home to I forgot, is it Bethsaida, just outside of Jerusalem, and Jesus comes along, and you have a conversation between them that's long enough. Maybe it's not quite the same as what's in view here as a kind of passenger, but it's that sense of suddenly being with somebody you recognise is really interesting and engaging, and just sort of, well, I think the passage says, our hearts just kind of went on fire listening to the way Jesus explained things in terms of the Old Testament and how he was fulfilling that. I think I would probably want that. So I'd go for number 5, Jesus Christ. But it's just the thought struck me was, why is Jesus number 5? And I don't mean why is he not number 1. Um, why is he even in the top 10? It just seems quite strange that Jesus, even now, would be somebody that people would actually want to talk. It's 16,500 folk in this survey. It's not like they went outside church buildings on a Sunday morning and just got Christians. But Jesus is number 5. I actually thought that was quite interesting. And what I also thought was quite interesting, again, there's a Bear Grylls kind of survive. If you don't know Bear Grylls, I mean, I'm not in talking terms with him either, but he's a Christian, and he does the kind of survival program where a celebrity will be tagged with Bear Grylls, and they try and sort of survive for, I don't know what it is, 48 hours. And he took Stephen Fry, not I mean, incredibly smart and erudite, but probably not the person who you would envisage tramping over kind of vast areas of terrain. And they did end up talking about the fact that Bear Grylls was a Christian and Stephen Fry was, very definite atheist. And again, you would expect Stephen Fry to be quite erudite and polite and make his point with some razor sharp, skewering comment. But it was actually everybody was quite nice and polite. Bear Grylls specifically sought to witness to him. I don't think he does that in all the programs. In fact, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. He doesn't. He is a Christian, but he doesn't play the Christian card every time. But it's the issue of the fact that Stephen Fry is a kind of forceful, vocal, erudite proponent of atheism. That it was obvious that it became the kind of talking point between the two of them. think it's really important that you have people in mind. I'm not necessarily saying just think about who you would want to have in a long car journey. What I'm saying is the very fact that people put Jesus Christ at number 5, he's still a talking point. He's still somebody that people want to speak about. So I actually thought it was quite strange that Jesus Christ was number 5. And I think it's probably indicative of the fact that as Christians, we need to recognize conversation is something that people still want to engage in. Maybe they would want to drop you off at the end of the 3-hour journey to Manchester and, not have that passenger in again. But the point I'm making is, do we talk to people? Do we engage thinking about the opportunities that we have? Because Christ is still a talking point. Christ is still somebody folks would want to chat with, listen to, question. Are the people that you've given up on in terms of faith, but really they would actually be a whole lot more interested in Jesus than you might imagine. Certainly coming in at number 5 was a surprise to me. Just a thought. Good to see you. Hope to see you tomorrow. And until then, go with God, because I know God goes with you. Bye.